Hi, welcome to Glow's Kinder Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Tonight we're going to be making buttermilk biscuits to go along with the dinner that I'm making, which is turkey a la king. And I wanted to just show you what I do for this very simple buttermilk biscuit recipe. And it's actually on the back of this bag of white lily flour. And this flour is excellent for baking, and especially for making biscuits. And they've been in business now since 1883. And what it is, it's a soft winter wheat grain that they use, and they grind it up, and it is really, really nice. But anyway, to get started, I use the recipe that's right on the bag of the flour, except for one other ingredient, and I'll get to that. But there's only 2 cups of the white lily flour in here. There's a tablespoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I add 2 teaspoons of sugar. And then to that, I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of Crisco. You can put lard in it, and quite often I do lard, but tonight we're going to do Crisco. You can also put butter in it, which is very good too. And I had already pre-measured this Crisco out ahead of time. I have my oven preheating right now already to 475 degrees. One of the keys to making a really good biscuit is to have a very hot oven. So what I'm going to do is, I already had stirred up my flour mixture here before I put my Crisco in, before we started. And now I'm just going to cut in the Crisco into this flour. And by the way, this whisk that I'm using, a lot of people probably have never seen one. I hadn't seen one until this past summer, and I saw it on Facebook. It's called a Danish whisk or a Dutch whisk, and I ordered it on Amazon. But I'll tell you, it's wonderful for mixing up stuff. And it looks so simple, you wouldn't think it would do what it does, but it's great. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting in this Crisco. You can use 2 forks, so you could use, you know, a pastry cutter. You can use your hands, whatever you want. And I'll probably end up starting to use my hands here in a few minutes. And that's another thing. When I'm baking and working with, you know, like a mixture like this, where I'm going to be getting my hands into the stuff, I take off my rings and my jewelry that's going to get around it. I just put my rings like in a little saucer, like I do right here. That way I don't lose them. I've heard stories about people that have lost their rings in the kitchen, and I really wouldn't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish up cutting this Crisco into the flour. The goal is, you want your flour to kind of look like peas, the size of a pea. It doesn't have to be perfect, but because you don't want to work this too much. The key to a good biscuit is not overworking your flour. So you can see, see how that's like the size of a pea. That's, you know, been broken down into this flour. So we're going to go ahead and do our final ingredient in here, and I'm making myself a little well in the middle of my bowl, and that's where I'm going to be putting in buttermilk, 3/4 cup, and I already pre-measured it. And I'm going to go ahead and start mixing it in. Some people pour it all in at the same time and mix it, and that's great. You can do that. There's a lot of people that mix this together with their hands, and but I find for myself it just works good like this for this recipe. And to this recipe you could add cheese, herbs, whatever you want. But tonight, since we're doing it with the turkey a la king, we're just going to do a basic one. And biscuits here in the South are very popular. What you want to do with this is to just get the dough to come all together into a ball. Well, looks like we're doing good here.
Looks good, Miss Glow.
Well, thank you.
There's people that drink buttermilk straight like my grandmother used to do. Oh, this stuff is hard to take.
Yeah, it's a little too tangy for me. There, we're all done. It's all come together. You can see how if I put that together, it just stays together, and that's what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off this whisking and see how easy this is to clean off too.
Very easy, Miss Glow.
I'm just going to set that right over there. And now what we want to do is to flour our breadboard. So I'm just going to put a little flour here and spread it out. And this dough is so soft. Just want to try and get as much as I can out of that. I'm just going to set this over here to get it out of my way. And now what you want to do is you want to kind of pat this out. And if the dough sticks to your hands when you're doing this, you need to put a little flour on your hands like that. This is going to be fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this dough over one time. I'm going to pat it down again. And by doing that, I'm creating layers. So these layers that I'm making are going to help when this biscuit is baking. So that when I take it out of the oven, you're going to have layers that makes them flaky. You want to do it like 5 or 6 times. There, I think that's enough. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this into like a square or a circle, whatever way you want to do it. And you're going to pat it out.
Or a rectangle.
Yep. And you're going to pat it out till it's about 1/2 inch thick. Does that look like it's about 1/2 inch?
Pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I could use a glass, or I could use a biscuit cutter, or whatever you have for the size of a biscuit you want. But I think tonight I'm not going to make some really big ones. So I'm just going to use a small beverage glass. And you always flour it. And the reason you do that is so that whatever you're using to cut into the biscuit dough, it's not going to stick to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Push it down, but don't twist. Just pull up. Push down and have it come up. I'm going to flour again. Push down and pull straight up. Push down and pull straight up. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with this, and I'll be back with you to show you how what I put it on, and then we'll be baking them. We'll see you in a few minutes. Hi, well, you can see the biscuits. We got them all done. and we have 11. So I'm going to go ahead, and what I like to do is kind of put them close together. That way the sides are, you know, kind of soft. But if you wanted your biscuits really crispy, absolutely, you can spread them out and do whatever you want. But now I'm going to go ahead and put this in my preheated 475-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. And we'll see you back, and I'll let you see what they look like when they're done. Hi, well, we just took our biscuits out of the oven. It was about 10 minutes that it took. And everybody cooks theirs a little different. This is about the color that I like mine to be. A lot of people down here in the South cook their biscuits in a cast iron pan, and I do that sometimes. But I have used stones for years, and I really like them. Mine has been well seasoned, so I don't even have to grease it. But I'm going to show you with it. See how I like it on the bottom brown and on the top. And then to open it up, and you can see the layers in here from it rising in the oven. And to open it up, you just take a fork and you go around. And it just lifts off. See how nice that is?
Piping hot, Miss Chloe.
Yep. And I must say, they are delicious. It's a very good recipe. All of these I cut out except for this one right here. And that one I had to, was the last one. And it just turned out to be just about the same size. But as you can tell, it didn't rise like the others. And I think the main reason is because I hadn't cut it with my glass or my cutter. But you can see here how it has layers. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. Bye.